Hello, it is so great to see you. I hope you are doing well. Today, I want to talk for a minute about our emotions and what happens when our emotions hijack a normally pleasant work environment. I'm hearing from a lot of leaders these days that they're dealing with very heightened emotions in the workplace, whether that's them realizing that they're reacting from an emotional place or they realize that the person they're talking to is not coming from a very centered and grounded place, but is reacting emotionally. And when we react emotionally, we have a really hard time making clear decisions. And I will tell you, I see this a lot these days. There is a lot going on in our world right now, and people are dealing with a lot in their personal lives, and that's bound to seep into the workplace. So let's talk about three things that you can try if you find yourself in a heightened emotional state, or you're talking to or trying to deal with someone who is in a very emotional state. So, tip number one is take a deep breath. If you find yourself in a position where you are very emotional or you're dealing with someone who is, just take a second. Take a beat, take a step back, and take a deep breath. Give yourself a minute to find a bit of clarity and help ground yourself so that you can focus on what's going on, so that you can think a bit clearer. It is amazing what a deep breath or two will do to bring new air into the environment and expel some of that tension that you're feeling in yourself. Now, I would hesitate to ask someone else to take a deep breath. That does not usually go well, but this is something that you can do for yourself. Tip number two is to name it. If you're having a very heated conversation that probably shouldn't be heated, it's not something that typically would evoke a lot of emotion, call it out in a non-judgmental way. Just name it. Say, hey, Jim, I'm feeling like there's a lot of tension right now. It feels like this is a really contentious conversation. And what that can do is that can take a bit of the air out of the room and help, in this case, Jim, take a step back and reflect on how he's feeling in that moment. Naming it can be a very, very helpful way to get everyone just to pause for a second and think about what's going on. And the third tip is do not be afraid to reschedule the conversation. If you feel like you are getting nowhere with the person that you're talking to and emotions and tempers are really high, do not shy away from saying, time out, let's take a pause. Let's circle back around this afternoon. Or perhaps we should talk about this tomorrow. There are not very many instances where you have to find the answer in that moment. When you do, that's when you employ the deep breath and naming what's going on. But if it is not an emergency situation, give everyone a few minutes to collect themselves. Because often, when we're in that state of heightened emotions and feeding off of each other, for instance, in a meeting, if you take the air out of the room and say, we're not going to talk about this right now, we're going to pause this conversation and I will schedule time for us to catch up this afternoon or tomorrow morning, it gives everyone an opportunity to take a step back and take a deep breath and come back from a more grounded and centered place. So, those are the three things that I want you to try: taking a deep breath, naming what's going on, and don't be afraid to reschedule the conversation. So I hope those three things can help you get through a tense day at work, or you may be finding that most days are tense right now. And please, please, please give yourself and those around you as much grace as you can. We're all dealing with a lot, and we really never know what the person on the other side of our conversation has going on. So the more that you can work to center and ground yourself, the better all of these conversations will go. So I hope that's helpful. Please reach out if there is anything you need to talk about or anything we can do to support you and keep up the good work. Things are tough right now, so hang in there.